So I'd like to share why we want to do this and how we plan to do this. So our idea here is to improve data assimilation for hurricane prediction to address the priorities for DoD. And so I'm Xuguang. I'm the professor from school meteorology. I'm leading this multi-scale data assimilation predictability lab at school meteorology. I'm also the director of this multi-university consortium for advanced data assimilation research education cadre. So why is it important for improving data assimilation for hurricane prediction? This is also something set in the proposal. So basically, tropical cyclone are very important to predict well because otherwise it poses enhanced risks to the department's infrastructure operations from ocean to coast. Talking about like storm surge, high winds, heavy rain, flooding, etc. And so it can cause dramatic damage, very costly. Can be easily 1 billion for multiple hurricanes listed here: Florence, Ian, Katrina, Michael, for example. I'll show several other examples. And so really, in order to have a accurate prediction of tropical cyclone intensity track, we really want to initialize the numerical weather model properly. This is done through the data submission process. So because hurricanes mostly happening over the ocean, so satellite data can be very helpful if you're able to properly assimilate those. So I'm just showing an example from our past work from our group. And this is for Hurricane Laura 2020. What's shown on the top left is GO 16 all sky radiance channel 10 satellite data, and the bottom two are just two different ways of simulating this, satellite radiance, standard approach and our newly proposed approach on this red column. So I won't go to too much technical details. So I'll just say this is our newly proposed approach. And then, so you can see the effect. So what's shown here on the left is maximum wind, minimum stellar pressure, B, and also track. Those are the traditional 3 metrics for evaluating for hurricane forecasts. So the blue one is using the old approach. The red one is using the old approach, and the blue one is using the new approach. You can see whether using the new approach or not, you're going to change dramatically in terms of improvement. You want everything to be close to the black curve, which is observation, the best track. And then, okay, so now talking about JEDI, I'm not sure you guys heard about it. It's the joint effort for data integration. It's basically the next generation state-of-art data simulation, system. As unified meaning you can hook with JEDI with a variety of models. And actually, both Navy, Air Force, from DoD, of course, like NASA and NOAA are also using JEDI, but I'm sure Navy and Air Force are using JEDI as well. So what we have done is we have developed this JEDI-based data systems for tropical cyclone and test over the Atlantic basin so far. I'll show several examples next. So this is Hurricane Idalia 2023. This is using JEDI, and you can see our experiment domain and observations on the right simulated in our experiment. You can see in situ observations, satellite observations, etc. on the right. And then I'm just showing one slide here to show how assimilating certain data can affect the hurricane prediction. For this particular experiment done by Yuxin, he's looking at how boundary layer observation can affect hurricane predictions. So, so this left column is the observation, the reality, for like 1 kilometer wind speed and at the top, and also reflectivity at the bottom, 5 kilometer. And the second column is the experiment simulating all available observations that we have access to. And then the right column is we take the boundary layer related observations out, and we're going to see what's happening. So compare the second, third column, give an idea of the impact of the boundary layer observations. So you can see the middle column is mimicking the reality much better compared to the right column, which takes the boundary layer observation out. And then this is another example with Hurricane Ida 2021, done by Yue Yang. And here we're simulating the channel 9 ghost ABI radiances. And so on the right, you can show the radiance observations. And then for hurricane Ida, yeah, so you can see, so it actually experienced two rapid intensification, one here and one later. So we are looking into whether assimilating the ABI can help to some extent for the intensity prediction for the two intensification period. So the black curve is the reality best track, and the red curve is not assimilating satellite data, and the blue is you actually assimilate satellite data. So it's very encouraging. You do see improvement relative to not assimilating satellite data, and the intensification rate is also improved compared to not assimilating the satellite data. So then, we can do a bunch of diagnostics to understand why. So one thing we found is that assimilating the satellite data can actually correct the vortex tilt. For hurricanes, if you tilt it, right, you're not easy to intensify, but everything is aligned better, so you can intensify better. So what's shown here is to see analyze the vortex tilt or alignment to see why assimilating the clear can help you. So this column on the left is the experiment without simulating the satellite data, and on the right is one simulating the satellite data. So if you look at the bottom, the diamonds are the alignment from the observations. So the blue curve shows how each experiment simulate this alignment. So you want the blue curve to be close to diamonds, which means you are close to the reality in terms of alignment. So compared to the left and right, you do see the blue curve for the experiment simulating satellite is simulating the alignment more closely to reality compared to not simulating satellite data. So this is consistent with improved intensification, because now you have a better alignment, you intensify more easily. So this is just showing some example work using JEDI. And next, I'm going to show our proposed work. So we have done this for Atlantic hurricanes. For this proposal, we plan to extend it to transfer this to the region of DoD interest. So I would imagine West North Pacific and its coast area will be a region of interest for DoD, the department. And there we have Hamari satellite, and then we can actually replace the GOO 16 data with this Hamari satellite for the assimilation to address DoD interest for the domain of their interest. So we're also going to produce initial conditions using this JEDI-based data assimilation for a selected retrospective cases. We'll start with one, and then now we're going to hopefully extend it to a couple other cases. So we want to demonstrate the impact of the forecast scale for those select hurricanes. And we're going to leverage the verification diagnostics we have done for the Atlantic Basin and then transfer over for region of DoD interest. And so we can evaluate the impact of simulating the satellite data using advanced data assimilation techniques. So in terms of deliverables, we plan to share the JEDI related codes because they are using JEDI. So associated with the new data, and then hopefully they can also easily leverage in their system. So I think that's my last slide. I thought it's better to present briefly, but the most important points. So
All right, thanks, Xuguang. Anyone have any quick questions for Xuguang before she has to take off?
Renee, so it's okay. It's a plot, not a right hand. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I have one. Do you anticipate any issues with changing from GOO 16 to the Himawari satellite?
They have a lot of similarity. The instruments, one is ABI, AHI. So data is, same data stream we have here. I don't see big issue, but it does need test. So that's why I think we need to put efforts on it as well. So we might also change some of the quality control, pre-processing, and so test out from there. There are similarities, but we also need efforts to put things in place to make sure it's working. Yeah, like any DA, you cannot guarantee. I mean, whenever you have new data, you need to put a lot of efforts to test, evaluate. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say your starting RL is going to be?
Oh, what did I say?
This
That
level.
proposal. Yeah, I have to recall what we proposed. It's consistent with what we proposed.
Okay.
I think you said a 5, technical readiness level 5.
Yeah, this one is looking for 5, 6. Is that right? That's what I recalled.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
put 5 there. Yeah, yeah. I think that's consistent with where we are now. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.